Good afternoon and welcome to Blue Dream Love and Wellness. Today we are so blessed to have Julia here to talk with us about the spiritual world. Because if we remember, we have two worlds. We have the physical world where there's material items, and we have the spiritual world where there's the divine and angels. But also in that spiritual realm is also darkness. But Julia's here to speak with us about the lightness within this world. And Julia, I will turn it over to you. And whoops, and I just hit the wrong button. Let me come back and make sure I share the right screen so you can share yours. Okay, go ahead, hon.
Yes.
Now, I know all of you have had some form of work with the spiritual world because we all believe in the divine. Everybody that's in here believes in the divine. So we know how beautiful it is. And look at this picture Julia's come up with us to see the divine.
So I guess you can now all see my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I would like to present myself. We already discussed a little bit. So my name is Julia. I'm in Germany in the Frankfurt area. And I'm not only a spiritual person, but also a normal person, which means that during the mornings, I'm a demand planner. And in the afternoons, I'm a mother, and I'm also doing some spiritual work, like as I'm a medium also. So it seems to be a strange mix, but at the end, it's not, because we are all connected to the spiritual world, only that some are aware of it and others are not aware of it. But everybody of us is connected to this world from which we are coming. It's just like behind a curtain and we cannot always see it. So today I will be like a reporter for you, reporting from this other world. And now we see this nice picture. You can see the world from outside. Sometimes it's helpful to take a step away from our daily life, from our normal daily problems and so on, to go a step behind and to take a new look on things. And today we want to have a look on this world where we are, to discover a little bit how much we are connected in reality. So first of all, I wanted to show you what is spirit at all. Some might wonder, what does this mean? What is spirit? Spirit, in a very general way is an enlightening energy full of love. This is a very neutral description, in my opinion. And as you know, since ever we had religions on earth, which are, in my opinion, the expression for spirit. So spirit had also representatives on earth. It is independent from a concrete religion, but such representatives were Jesus, angels, Buddha, Mohammed, Hinduistic gods, and all spiritual helpers and light-filled entities that we have. Sometimes we can see them in person, or sometimes we are not really aware of it, because it might be a normal person appearing and you think it's just a normal man or woman, but in reality it's somebody who will now help you. Maybe you have already made such an experience. I had some of these where I wondered afterwards, only not during the contact, but afterwards I wondered, this was somehow strange. What was it? It looked like a normal person, but the way how the people appeared and what they said, it seemed like a helper, more magic than a real person, even if it looked like a real person. And then you could ask, how can I perceive spirit? Where is spirit? I would say there's just a curtain between our physical world, which we can see with our eyes, and the spiritual world. And as soon as your level of perception increases, you feel and see more and more the signs of spirit. And today my mission is to show you a little bit how you can perceive it in the daily life, because there are signs if you are aware of it. So let's now open the curtain to see. And whenever you have questions or you would like to share a little story, then please let me know. We will try to answer immediately or share your contribution, your little story. Yeah, so spirit is really all over. You just need to understand its signs, because there can be signs or people that you think are normal, or you are maybe so much concentrated on your daily life that you are not aware of it. But when you start to think about, when you start to get aware of it, you can discover these signs.
So Julia, does this mean we need to quiet ourselves?
Yes, I believe whenever the brain, the mind is turning around all the time, thinking, you can hardly perceive the signs of spirit, because you are just overwhelmed by all these thoughts. I know this myself when I'm on the normal business working. Sometimes there are issues coming up which I didn't expect. And this morning only I had it. It's sometimes like waves which come. They all get mad in the same moment. Everybody wants something from you on 1 hour, just all is urgent now. And then it is normal, absolutely human, that your brain starts to run. But whenever your brain runs, there's not so much space to perceive any signs or to get a good intuition. So it's very helpful to train ourselves to get the spirit calmed down. So not the spirit, the mind calmed down whenever we want it. And that's a little bit of training. I will come to this topic later on. So there might be visual signs that you were maybe not really aware of it, but today I want to make you aware of it and to observe in the next time in your daily life if you can also perceive such signs. And to make you understand what I mean, I want to tell you the story of the bee. So my brother-in-law, who is the husband of my sister, he has lost his father 2 years ago, and his father was very ill for several years already. He was in a home for ill people. And he said to his son, so to my brother-in-law, once when I will be gone, when I have died, I will be free like a bee. Then he died at the very end of December, just before the year end. And the funeral took place in January on a cemetery in Germany. So I imagine you are in Pennsylvania, mostly you will have a cold winter too. Here normally in January, it's absolutely excluded that bees fly around. It's not possible because the whole winter, I mean, the whole nature is in winter mode, yeah? Maybe it's normal to have bees in Florida in warm regions, but in Germany it can't be. And during that funeral, my sister told me a bee was turning around them at the cemetery. So if you are not observing it because you are maybe so sad, you will not see the sign. But if you open your eyes in a wider sense and you see that bee and you start to think about, how can it be that a bee turns around us in January in winter, even if there is snow? And then you might remember he said one day, I will be free like a bee. So I believe it can't be a poor coincidence that just a bee was on that cemetery. It must be a sign of his father who has left Earth to say, hello, I'm here, I'm free, I'm fine, don't be too much sad. I was very, I liked the story when my sister told it. And that is a sign, just an example, but these kind of signs are always a symbol of the spirit who wants to tell us, look, I know you are sad, but maybe it's not that bad. I'm still here.
I think that's a very beautiful story. I know that we had a friend pass away, and when they came back, and I don't know if this is part of the realm, but the whole side of their house was covered with monarch butterflies.
Yeah, that's true. It is always, and that's a point which I want to stress a lot, spirit uses symbols or signs that you will understand. So if for you, for example, a butterfly is a sign for the spiritual world, but not for Rodney or David, they will show you a butterfly, but they might show to Sarah a horse, because horse is representing for her the spirit. And look to that story with the bee. For me, a bee doesn't mean a lot, but to that person, concretely my brother-in-law, it was the connection to the sentence that his father has made, I will be free as a bee. And so spirit always uses in messages those signs or symbols that you personally will understand. And that's why I tell you now the story of the feathers, because it's the same, but now it applies to me personally. Whenever I'm a bit lost or desperated, feathers show up in a place where you could not imagine. On all of the sudden, on the brown wooden floor, a feather is laying. Once I had a feather even on the toilet. Or sometimes it can be in the car. So for me, angels or spirit know, for her it's feathers. So if she's too much desperate, it could be that a feather all of the sudden is laying on my way to somewhere. Now, a critical mind would say, yeah, but feathers can be there. They are birds. They are maybe at home, some cousins, you say, or on the sofa. Yeah, cousins. Yeah, for sure. But a feather on the toilet is maybe not normal. Yeah. So this is to make you understand that for me it's feathers, but for you it might be something different. And I recommend you to observe a bit in the next weeks what is appearing in your daily life whenever you ask for help or you want to have guidance.
Would it be by chance, Julia, would there be coins?
If it's
little
coins,
pennies?
you mean?
Yeah, little pennies
it can
on the
be
floor?
It can be also a penny on the floor.
I'll be doggone.
It's just that you need to be aware. You won't understand it the first time, yeah? Because the first time you think, a feather here on the wooden floor, okay, it's a bit strange, but maybe afterwards you feel lighter. And then the next time when you are desperate or you need help, you see a feather on the toilet, you think, oh, again a feather. It must be a sign.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah. Voila. So, and then it's not only ideas. It's not only visual signs. It's also ideas that you get and which you normally could not have. And here I'm going to tell you the story of the cookie box. On this photo, this is really a cookie box. You wouldn't imagine. Huh? This is the story of my mother. She's 68 and she has a friend. It's a doctor, a former doctor. And for his birthday, she offered him a cookie box with cookies inside, for sure, that she has baked herself. She went to a store where you can choose a lot of cookie boxes, and she chose this bus here. And then she offered it to her friend, and he was so completely amazed how nice this is. And this was his dream in his youth. So he's maybe now 70 years old, yeah? His dream. And when they were young, they rented a red bus like that. And he went directly into dreaming of his youth and was so happy. So I said to my mother, look, why did you choose this bus in front of a whole shelf full with cookie boxes? You could have chosen another cookie box, but you chose this red bus and now your friend is so happy. So it is most likely an inspiration from above. It is a helper from maybe this man or an angel or how you would like to call it. But I deeply believe it can't also be just a poor coincidence. It is surely a sign that somebody pushed her to choose this red bus and that this man was so happy, because you could imagine a cookie box is not a big thing, but in that case, it was absolutely personally the right thing for him. And my mother couldn't know this. She knows this man maybe since 20 years only, but not when he was young. So try to consider a little bit. Sometimes I'm getting very good ideas when I'm cooking, because I like cooking very much. And when I'm not under pressure, I think it's relaxing. For you, I don't know what it is. It could be some technical stuff or music or painting, whenever you can relax and your brain can stop or just run some thoughts without pressure, and then you get ideas. And that's why I recommend, when you are on a problem, turning around and another round, and you don't find a solution, take a break, make something really different, what you like to do, let your brain go, and then you will get an idea. And this is your own inspiration. Your connection then gets more vivid to this other world, which is outside, but all the time involved in our physical world. Whenever your mind is too strong, it's very difficult to get intuition. But when you relax, there is space, like if you would open a window.
Julia, when we find that our mind is so stressed and that we cannot focus on anything per se, we still need to do something more calming, allowing us to actually be seeing what we need to see. So something out of the ordinary that we normally would not do.
Yeah, it can be something that you would not do, or you could choose a way where you know it will do you well. Like I say, I like cooking. When I'm cutting vegetables, I'm creating a nice sauce. It's more a creative work, which at the end is a nice result, because if you have nice food, or you get you have people who come for dinner, you cook in a nice way, it's something very pleasant. But it could be also that you go for jogging, you are running in the forest. It can be a usual method where you know it will help you because you like it and you can relax. Or it could be try something new. But for trying something new, you need a bit more of force, When you're already very stressed, you have tendency to choose ways which are known to yourself. If you would try something new, this is totally enlightening in the sense that you get more vivid, you get also new ideas, but I believe you need a bit more of space in words of time, yeah? So if you have a full Saturday, you could decide to jump from an airplane on this, how do you say, I don't know the word in English, yeah? Something crazy, or I don't know,
Where we
yeah,
go
doing a horse
parachuting.
ride.
Go
Yeah,
parachuting, yeah, zip
genau,
lining.
that's the word, yeah. For example, I did in August a horse ride. My daughter likes horse riding very much, but I don't like so much. So for me, it's a new experience. I like to see the horses because they have also a very high and fine energy mostly. But sitting on a horse for me, ooh, so I did this once. It was a nice new experience. So
I bet it was a
agree.
blessing. I bet it was a blessing. Horses are very, their energy is very high. You are right. And people say they don't talk. They talk very
Yeah.
loudly.
Yes.
And their
So
energy is very
I
vibrational.
agree with you, Cynthia. It's very good to do from time to time new things because it opens also our horizon. But whenever you feel stressed, mostly it's easier to choose something that you already know, where you don't need too much force to do the first step. So it could be repairing things, it could be running in the forest in terms of jogging, it could be swimming. For example, for me, I love swimming, it's relaxing. This morning, as I said, I had a very busy morning at my work where I am demand planner. There are so much details to sort out. And I was a little bit afraid, will I be able to concentrate tonight? Now it's 7:30, yeah? When I went swimming, I still felt very stressed. But when I was swimming, then I was getting one person with the water and it was so nice. And I came back freshly renewed. So yes, I recommend to step out of this circle of thinking to open the mind for intuition and for help from above.
Okay, good. Because sometimes it's really hard to get out of
Yes,
that
it is.
mindset
It's
and to do something
absolutely.
totally different. I'll have to think and maybe write some things down and go muscle test which one would be the easiest to be able to step into.
Yeah, I believe I cannot say it in general because it's also very personal, but each of us will know what it is and where we are happy, what will help us to calm down. On the other side, it's very human to be sometimes completely stressed. Also me, I connect often to spirit, or when I'm connected, it's a different way of being, but nevertheless, sometimes I'm falling also in a tunnel and I see problems everywhere when it's too much simply, and then I need to step out.
And when you do that, Julia,
Yeah,
when you're stepping out with somebody else, when you're in there with somebody else and you can feel that energy building, politely, I know, step out, but at times we cannot politely step out. Is it okay just to break and say, excuse me, and step out?
absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
This is something what I want to share now spontaneously with you. My grandfather died several years ago, so in 2006, which is not yet, but almost, let's say, rough about 20 years ago. And as I'm able to channel, normally I'm channeling angels or higher entities, but sometimes also family members appear and want to tell me something. And one day my grandfather came and gave me a message, a resume of his own life. He said to me, I always believed during my life that I would need to fulfill every requirement and that the objective was to reach out, to reach all goals, yeah? That he would have to fulfill everything what he thought that he would need to do. But when he passed away and looked back to his life, he said to me, he understood that it's not about fulfilling all requirements, but to be authentic. How do you say it in English? Authentic. Authentic, yes.
Yes.
And he recommended me, because this is a typical subject of our family, that we believe we have to fulfill all requirements, that it's really not the goal to fulfill all, but to be authentic. So when you are tired or you just can't go on a day, okay, you can maybe not skip from your work because you have to work unless you are ill. But you could say to a friend or to your family members, listen, I'm feeling so tired. I can't be now in contact with you, but I want to listen well when we are in contact. I step now out for a moment. I will go for a jogging or I will sleep 1 hour, but I can't for the moment. And this is something also for me where I have to learn, and where I had to learn a little bit during spring. I had a very hard time with my work because I had to do 2 jobs in part-time as one employee is missing. I had to learn to set limits, because when you get totally empty and you have no more energy or no forces, you can't help anybody and you cannot be in true, real contact. You're just like knocked out. And then it's very important to take a step back and to say, okay, listen, I'm exhausted now, I can't, or I won't come to this invitation tonight because I'm not able to really to talk to you because I can't listen anymore. I feel exhausted. So if you explain or you say some words, people might respect it. Maybe they won't understand it, will be angry. But if I think about what my grandfather said, it's absolutely important to be authentic, then I believe it's true. If we would be in a meeting, you, Cynthia, and me, and we want to talk on a private level very nicely, but I'm completely killed in my mind, how could I talk with you? How could I see you and feel what you need or what you want? I'm then completely out of the game, but I'm sitting there physically and my mind is somewhere else.
Thank you for explaining that. Thank you very much.
And then I will tell you also another little story. It can be information that you get via others by coincidence. And it's fitting totally what you actually are searching. So I was indeed doing jogging in the forest here next to my place. It looks a bit like this photo. And all of a sudden there was an elderly man on a bicycle. And he said to me, excuse me, I don't know, I'm lost. Where is the way back to our little village, Seeheim? And I explained him, but then he started to talk a little bit and I felt he felt also a bit lonely. He was not only lost, but a bit lonely, and I talked to him a little bit. And I don't know how it came, and it seems even now crazy to me. I had a problem with my food, not because of that jogging, but on general, yeah? And I was looking for a podiatrist. And then he suddenly told me that he goes to a very nice lady here in our village who is doing this job, so a podiatrist. And I said, oh, this is interesting because I'm searching one. And then he took out his money box, so his portemonnaie, and gave me a business card of this podiatrist. And it seems strange, doesn't it? You go to a forest for a jogging, you search, not at that moment, but in these days, a good podiatrist. And then this man in the forest, I helped him by showing him the way, and he gave me a business card. I mean, this is fun, isn't it? You could say it's just crazy, but yeah, it is help. It is help. I got the information that I needed.
It was a blessing all the way around.
Yeah, it is. And this is my purpose, to make you aware of the signs, that you can see these signs. Because spirit can send you 100 signs. If you don't see it and you are desperate, you will think, I'm all alone, nobody helps me. And this is, by the way, also very human. To me, it arrives also from time to time. If I'm really desperate, I think, oh, it's all shit, and oh, I won't do it, and oh, it's all a pain, and oh, it's so difficult on earth. But then if you see a sign, you think, naja, maybe it's not that bad, and tomorrow will be a new day.
I could definitely coincidence with you there.
Yeah. And then there is for sure direct input from spirit. So some of us have a feeling or can have visions or hear messages or can feel what others feel. I believe that this comes more and more the more you get your mind in silence, that you can set it into silence, and the more you get on a higher level of consciousness. But then for sure, some of us are great in techniques, others are great in painting, others are a rock star, and others have as their mission to be a channel for others. So it's surely one of my missions in that life, to do channelings for others. If you wonder now if I could do this since ever, no, it came during the last years. So during the last 20 years, I have run through a lot of transformations processes. And by clearing myself, I got a more and more clear channel. And it took a while until I understood that I can get whole messages. So it's like then for me, like a dictation, whenever somebody has a question or I have myself and I ask to spirit, they tell me like a dictation and I write it down. So for me, the channel would be clairaudience. For others who can see pictures or even lighter entities around, it might be clairvoyance. Clairsentience is if you feel somehow what somebody suffers at the moment or has in his life. So I make an example. A friend of mine all of a sudden had terrible pain in the thorax and felt completely ill. She went to the doctor because she thought she would have a heart attack. And the doctor made some analysis and said, but you're perfectly fine. Maybe your nerves are a bit weak. And then it came out that at this afternoon where she felt to have a heart attack herself, her father had a heart attack, yeah? So this is clairsentience, when you can feel what happens to others. And clear empathy is if you feel how another person is feeling. So if I look to some of you and I concentrate a bit on you, I could feel how you feel. And this can be an advantage, but also a disadvantage. If you're high sensitive, how we call it in German, and you go to a big town like to Frankfurt, to the subway, which is maybe full of people, it's then difficult if you get too much information. You can feel completely overloaded and exhausted. So it's also important to have tools how you can block it.
May I interrupt you there? Julia, how do you, when you are, because I don't go to stores anymore because of just that fact. And I've tried to block it, but how do you block it? In a different essence than what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, so for clear empathy, I can quickly feel how somebody feels, even if I don't know that person. And that's actually a situation in a bus or in a subway. If I don't want it and I feel just already a bit overloaded, I don't look to people anymore. So let's imagine I see you here on the right side of my laptop. We would be sitting in a bus. If I'm relaxed and now open, I would look around. Here's sitting David. How does he looks like? It would be also interesting. Yes, sometimes it's strange. But on another day when I already feel like, then I watch outside of the window. I look to the sky or whatever, and I try not to see you, to block it. And if I would go walking downtown Frankfurt area in the middle of downtown, yeah, it's difficult. After a day, I mostly feel tired. But if I try to imagine that I'm like in a light egg, I can also try to protect myself. But what is very interesting, some time ago, it's just 2-3 months ago, I discovered a video on YouTube. It's in German, but it was about high sensitive people. And I was positively surprised about the input which came there, because they said that people who are high sensitive need more time for themselves, more time to relax, because they get all the time more information, a lot of more information than normal people, yeah? And I felt somehow relieved, because I didn't feel anymore like the black sheep, yeah? It's more than normal if you get all information that your mind, your processor, like a computer, can get too much, and then you need to block it. And now we come back to that topic we had later on, when I said sometimes it's better to say, listen, I can't, I'm exhausted, rather than to go into a contact and not to be present at all. Last week, it happened to me, a friend who is not calling so often. She's living in the south of Germany, so 3 hours driving from here. She called me on an evening where I was totally exhausted. And even if I like to talk to her, I didn't answer the phone. I let the call run onto the answering machine. And the next day I wrote her a text message on WhatsApp that I thank her for her call, but I had a packed day and I couldn't go to the phone anymore, and I will call her nextly. So I believe it is better to say at the moment, now I can't, rather than to be physically present, but not really present. The other person will always feel it, even if they are not maybe aware of it. In the underconsciousness, they feel it if you are not there.
Makes a lot of sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and now we could also ask, and when is that spirit talking to us? How do I know that it's spirit and not maybe my mind or an annoying entity who wants to bring me some trouble? I would say it's then spirit if it's surprising in a positive sense, and you feel somehow relieved afterwards, because as I showed later on, you get an idea which helps you. You get a sign which makes turn around your mood. You feel suddenly like, oh, it's not that bad that I thought. It's spirit whenever it's the best for all involved parties. Let's imagine we are in a conflict with somebody. Spirit will never tell you, beat that man down or kill that man, it will never be spirit. Spirit will try to give you solutions which are good for all the involved parties. So I had for sure already channelings concerning conflicts. People who had conflicts with others. Me too, by the way, I've channeled for myself for conflict topics also. They will never say, oh, this ugly person, you need to beat her down, but they will give you explanation why somebody acts in a certain way. They will not say it's a super nice, positive person when it's in reality a negative person. I mean, they won't lie to you, but they will never recommend you anything where you feel afterwards bad, or let's say struggle down, and also not for others. And I've made the experience, if we get an explanation why somebody is acting in a certain way, it's getting already easier. You start to understand that it's maybe not against you personally, but that somebody feels forced to be maybe a bit pushing back or whatever. So it's always giving a solution or explanation which is for the best of all involved parties. And whenever it's helpful information which you couldn't know. So all in all messages from spirit are normally easy, clear, positive, and enlightening. Never negative. That's an easy, simple explanation, I would say.
Now, if you have a client per se that says that they channel and all they channel is negative stuff, they're not channeling properly then, are they?
Yeah, they are not channeling spirit. They are channeling then a lower level.
Okay.
Because there are not only light-filled entities, there are also some entities who have cut from the lightful source, and they need to get somehow energy, and they are existing. Yeah, so I don't want to say there are only angels. There are also darker entities, and whenever they tell you something when you then feel afterwards destroyed, it can't be a light-filled entity. I know somebody who became more or less alcoholic and smoking like crazy and let his life run, and said that one day he got the message that in a former life he has destroyed the whole universe. And because of that message, he gave completely up. And I thought, first of all, spirit would never say it in that way, that you are guilty, you have destroyed the whole universe, never ever. And then, in my opinion, one single person cannot destroy a whole universe. This is a bit too much. I mean, compare yourself to the whole universe. And giving up because of such a message is, in my opinion, in reality, the message of a negative entity who wants to bring you down to take then energy from you. But it's never ever a message from spirit, never ever from the light-filled entities.
Is there a way, Julia? I know that they come at us, they come at everybody. Is there a way that we can, people that don't do this kind of work, can deplete that it is that's coming at them and can make them dissipate?
Yeah. So they cannot come to you, these darker entities, if you are in a peaceful, relaxed mode. They can come to you only like to a docking station when you are totally angry, or if you are completely desperate, completely sad, and you cut yourself from your normal good sources. Yeah. And this is, by the way, also very human. It's nothing special or strange. It happens also to me when I'm extremely angry. I can discover that at a certain point of time, this anger gets more and bigger. And then you have to be careful, because in such a moment, they take some energy of you. And as they need some energy, they will put fire into your anger. Then they can get a bit more, yeah? I know it sounds maybe a little bit frightening. I don't want to frighten anybody, but it's very normal, yeah? It's nothing special. Only you can differentiate it if it's doing you well or if it's making you feel worse, even worse. And then you can recognize this it's a helpful entity or an entity who in reality wants something to have, which is literally energy.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So how can you now try to get more signs or more messages? My recommendation is be a receiver. Some of us might still know these old radio stations. My grandparents had one. It's a long time ago. So my daughter would ask now, what is that? For the young people, it doesn't exist anymore. They don't know it. But you know these buttons where you can turn around to search another frequency in your radio. You get another radio station. And this is how it works. Whenever you want to receive messages from spirit, you need to turn the button to a higher frequency. And that's what's happening, for example, when I'm doing a channeling. I have to stop my personal mind and to become a receiver like a radio. And then I receive the message. And that's what you need to do too. You don't need to become a channel medium. But in daily life, as I said before, if you want to perceive signs or get intuition from above, you need to stop your mind thinking and to be just like a receiver receiving messages. So what is important to receive these messages, whatever it is, a tiny one, a long message, a vision or whatever? Learn to stop your mind so that you can perceive information from spirit. The methods you choose, it's up to you. If it's jogging in the forest, if it's meditation, if it's swimming, if it's cooking, if it's repairing a car, whatever you like. What happens if you cannot stop your mind? Your mind tendentially wants to control everything. And if you want to go outside of this control, you need to be able to say stop and to push the brake button, like I have chosen the sign. So for me, when I think how I'm doing it, as I said, if I want to do a channeling for me or somebody else, I need to stop my mind. I need to become like such a radio to receive a message and not to think myself. So then I can hear very well what helpers, guiding angels or whatever, if you believe in Buddha, whatever, they try to help you when you ask for help. But this is also maybe an important point, which I didn't mention so far. They can only help us if you allow them to help you. This is a clear guidance for all enlightened, for all lightful entities. They are not allowed to interfere unless you agree and you allow them to help you. And they will always help you for your best, not for your worst.
Julia, do you always, before you do any channeling, do you actually go into meditation before you do it? Or you can just calm your mind and allow that white field of questions to come across or answers to come across?
Yeah. So I first sit down here on the table where I'm. Often I put a candle next to me, like here, but it's not necessary. Then I close my eyes, I concentrate a bit, I try to calm down my mind. Then I imagine, that is just my personal thing. That's why I've chosen the photo at the very beginning. I imagine that I'm flying like in a lift to a place outside of Earth, that I can see this blue planet from outside, like on the first picture in my presentation. And then I ask to Spirit, now I have questions. Let's imagine for Cynthia, who can help? Then I wait, and then they say to me, because for me it's like a dictation, I don't get a vision. They say, you can start now. And then I sit on my laptop. I have the questions already ready, like a reporter in an interview. I ask a question and then I don't think anymore. I just listen and I tape. And then I feel, aha, now the question is answered. I will not say anymore anything to that. And I ask, okay, next one. And then I ask the next question. And at the end, I get normally then the concrete information who it was. And then I say, thank you. And I come back to myself.
When you do this, Julia, does it drain you?
If it drains myself.
Mm-hmm. Does it drain you personally when you do this, when you meditate, when you channel?
If I feel concerned myself, you mean?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or do you? Yeah. Well, this is also something interesting, because when I'm in this channeling mode, I'm connected to this very high energy.
Okay.
And then all kind of problems which we have on Earth are not that hard that it feels normally for the person involved. So I can deal also with difficult topics, which are in that moment not so hard for me. But if I'm a normal person, Julia, I can even start crying sitting in front of a film because there's a poor child, yeah? Because I then feel so sad. And when I'm connected to Spirit, you get a bit outside of emotions. And that's also a point where you can discover that they are not so much involved, what is also good, because they are so strongly connected to light and outside of Earth, I mean, outside of a human life, they don't have this pain which we can have. We can have pain in our body or in our soul. They see it and they feel sad for us, but they don't feel this strong pain. And this is also what is happening, in my opinion, before you start to go into a life. You decide what you want to make as experiences, and you sometimes decide that you want to have this or that experience, but you don't imagine that it can become so hard on Earth. And I was also sometimes complaining to Spirit that I had in other lives very hard events. I was a bit complaining, like, why did I have to feel so much pain? And from their perspective outside, it's just experience. They tell me always it's a human valuation to say something is extremely negative or extremely positive, but they're a bit outside. So the advantages, they don't get too much involved. They can see all in a clear way. But the disadvantage for us is sometimes that we feel nevertheless a bit alone, because for us in that moment it's hard. And that's also the same reason, I believe, why I can channel more in a neutral way, because then I'm in that energy field. I'm not anymore as concerned as I would be as a person. And therefore I can be more neutral, just putting what they tell me and not to be too sad, but it happened once for a friend of me where I did channeling and the message was really sad. I felt afterwards sad too, but it comes then more afterwards. And what is then important to be a receiver or to get messages, signs, and whatever? I believe it's important to have a peaceful mind, because if you are in a fighting mode all the time, life becomes exhausting because fighting takes a lot of energy. This is also something very human. You can observe it in your daily life every single time. When you're in a fighting mode, you feel tired in the evening. If you are in a flow, it's the opposite. You can go on working or whatever you're doing. You do not get tired so much. So try to get more and more into a flow mode. And you can reach this when you try to dissolve the patterns which are giving restriction to yourself. I mean, there are several methods to clear ourselves. One very good method, which I've chosen a lot of times, is the emotion body code system. That is absolutely helpful. I've discovered several times myself that after emotion codes a meeting and a treatment, let's say, I saw things differently than before because my perception has changed. Whenever I have released pain, I could see things in a different way. The experience that we have made and the pain that we have had is often deciding on our attitude and perception. And it's important to be aware of the fact that our attitude and our perception design our own life. So with a positive and peaceful mind, you will have most likely a more smooth life than if you are in a fighting mode all the day. And it's important to have a peaceful mind to let more space for spirit to act so that you can recognize the signs. So I'm at the end of my presentation. I just had a look to the watch next to me. 1 hour is done, so I have
it
finished.
went quick. Everybody, Julia is wonderful, phenomenal at channeling. She blew my mind away and gave me a very strict, I don't even know the right word, but I knew she was speaking truth. And if I wouldn't have done it, I would have died.
Yes.
And that's for sure. So I suggest, and here I got tears rolling just saying that. So I would suggest to reach out to Julia. It's a beautiful experience.
Thank you, Cynthia. And I'm very, very glad that I could give you this very strong message and that you are with us still today. And I hope you will stay on this good way because without you, it would be a bit sad. Somebody would be missing here with us.
Thank you, Julia. I guess we need to close. Go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to say I thank you all for participating in this meeting, or all who will watch it later on.
Amen.
And I wish you that you come to a point where you can see the signs of spirit and your life gets lighter and lighter.
Amen, because it's right there in front of you. We just need to take a hold of it. If we could, please, I'd like everybody just to say a quick prayer, please, if we could. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for being present with us today and for bringing Julia to us. We want to bless each and every soul that is with us today and those that will listen later. And we want you to know that that spirit world is there for you, to guide you and to show you and to lift you up in the way that you never thought you'd been lifted up before. In our Heavenly Father, amen. So thank you very much. I wish you still a very nice day, and I will go now to my sofa.